Welcome to the Inner Slot podcast. This week, episode 19, it's just Josh, so me, Josh, and Chris. Henry and Connor can't make it, so we did joke an earlier pod that Connor was inching in, stealing my job. So this week, I'll be taking over his In the Slot Buster. Starting off with last week's one, so obviously I won't be guessing. The Inner Slot Buster, for those of you who don't know, it's a clue that we do each week. It's a game which Connor runs. We do a cryptic clue, so it accurately describes an NFL player, personality. Could be a commentator, retired, upcoming. Could be a college football player. We use a cryptic clue to describe their name. And so last week's cryptic clue was High School Musical causes me too much pain. Chris, did you have any guesses for that Buster this last week?
Well, similar to you guys, my High School Musical knowledge is very limited. However, I did manage to rack my brain and come up with a name. Actually, I came up with two names, but give me the one I think it is. I believe the Zac Efron character is called Troy, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's Troy, and I was thinking pain, ache. But I think we've had Troy Aikman before, but that was the name I thought it was.
Wow, that's an interesting one. Yeah, exactly. Troy, actually, I don't know. I wish Connor was here because obviously Connor's the one probably with enough High School Musical knowledge to have said that. It does sound right, but it wasn't Troy Aikman. Did you have any other guesses?
Yeah, that was one I thought it was going to be. My backup guess was Jalen Hurts again on the pain aspect, but I don't know if there's a character called Jalen or not.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, it's not Jalen Hurts. You were exactly down the right lines, though, and you're so close. When you're talking about Zac Efron, it was Zach Ertz. Yeah. If you put both of those components together, you had the name. You just tried too deep. But yeah, no, it's a good guess. It was a good guess, Chris. Certainly better than mine. I was fortunate enough to be reading out the clue this week and not showing off my lack of knowledge on the subject.
Well done.
Yeah, so we'll come back to this week's In the Slot Buster, which Connor has given me in a little bit. But first of all, let's go back to the real life NFL. Obviously, the main focus, what we talk about, free agency's been upon us. Last week, we discussed the first wave, all the key free agents signing, what the Patriots did in particular. The Patriots and the Buccaneers. This week we've seen the second wave. Predominantly we've seen running backs go, the rest of the wide receiver market go, and a lot of re-signings too. So the Buccaneers actually re-signed Ndamukong Suh and have basically now kept everyone. So a tremendous job by them to really give themselves a good chance of a Super Bowl repeat. Running backs signed everywhere. Some more re-signings for their own teams. T.Y. Hilton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marcus Mariota, Chris Carson. But a big thing which I wanted to talk about, Chris, was the New York Giants, who have taken a massive swing, put in a lot of money into three players. One of them was retaining Leonard Williams. We talked about him last week. That was a lot of money in a contract. They also signed Kenny Golladay. We've mocked a lot of times a wide receiver to the Giants. I think everyone expected them to be aggressive with wide receivers. Kenny Golladay was linked very early to them. But they also added Adoree Jackson, the super athletic cornerback released by the Titans. Interesting times for the Giants, right?
Yeah, definitely. It kind of takes me back to our discussions in the season. I think it was Connor that, or maybe it was yourself, obviously big Daniel Jones fan, that was backing them to make a Super Bowl push. I think it was Connor.
It was Connor.
It's starting to shape up. Leonard Williams, massive key signing. Adoree Jackson, you guys talked about him on the pod last week. And superstar, I love my superstar wide receivers. Kenny Golladay, huge contract, 72 million, 4 years. And that's going to really give Daniel Jones that alpha target. They also signed Kyle Rudolph, tight end. I don't know if you saw that one as well. Pretty a less glamorous sign in there, but definitely some weapons. And obviously Saquon coming back could be good for the Big Blue.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep an eye on them. Yeah, like you said, Chris, big fans of Daniel Jones, or at least I am. Um, I guess this is his make or break year, and they've really spent a lot to help him out with that. Um, so before we kind of touch on anything else, is there anyone that you wanted to look at from a free agent perspective?
I've got a couple of names. I just want to pose a question to you, Josh. Um, Obviously, with that high pick in the draft, where do you think, on the back of these three signings, where do you think the Giants will go with that first pick?
Yeah, it's a really good question. A lot of people have been mocking a linebacker or a wide receiver to them. I would happily stick with either. I think this puts them in a flexible spot where if
Mm.
Kyle Pitts does fall, then they can make that call as well. I don't expect he'll be there at number 11. Um, but I think you can't go wrong with offensive line, wide receiver, or a linebacker in the draft. But I fully expect them to go wide receiver, to be honest. Still,
Okay, that's interesting. Because obviously everyone was kind of mocking. Oh, I don't know.
Jalen
Don't know.
Waddle.
That's the one, Jalen Waddle, to go there. And obviously that would be a fantastic sort of skill player addition. Again, moving forward, you'd think Kenny Golladay would have a big year. And that's another skill piece moving on and probably looking for that second year, that sophomore production. So yeah, really, really good. Couple of names that I wanted to talk about. I obviously listened to the episode last week and hear your guys' thoughts. I don't think you mentioned Bud Dupree, obviously leaving my Steelers on the second most expensive contract in free agency thus far, signing with Tennessee Titans, 5 years, 85 million, and that would be a massive loss to us, massive loss. So I wish Dupree all the best. Fantastic player, obviously, season-ending injury. CJ Beathard, not a fantastic name, but backup quarterback is signed with the Jags. So maybe that means that Gardner Minshew is on his way out, with Trevor Lawrence looking to come number one down to Jacksonville. Another name, Kevin King, the famous cornerback from Green Bay, was re-signed on a $6 million 1-year deal. Notably had a very bad year, especially against Tampa. So I'm not sure what Henry quite thinks of that. But it seems like that's a prove it deal under the management. Then Mike Davis, running back, had a really good year standing in for McCaffrey in Carolina. He signed with the Falcons. I think it's just 5.5. It's 1 or 2 year deal. But that could be a nice little pickup. I think Todd Gurley is a free agent if they don't choose to re-sign him. So maybe that means that Todd Gurley is done.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Mike Davis did a lot this year to prove himself and definitely earned that deal. Um, yeah, we'll just keep an eye on it. Obviously, this is when the savvier teams start to make their moves, and yeah, like you said, Chris, a lot of prove it deals out there. So, yeah, it's an interesting market after a year which has been so different to see how teams have started to value positions with a decreased salary cap, but it doesn't really seem to be affecting the money. A lot of them are prepared to shed out. Like you said, Bud Dupree still got paid massively. Leonard Williams, some huge deals really, which have happened this free agency wave.
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of deals, like you said, that for the big hitters, there've been sort of contracts that are going to be lasting because they're worth it. But I think there's a lot of players that have a 1 year out, which obviously works well both for the team if it doesn't work out, but also with the player if they do work out, because then they've got another opportunity to hit the market again.
Yeah, exactly. And another good example of that is Damien Williams, obviously running back from the Chiefs. He sat out a year for COVID to look after his mum. He's been picked up. So that's nice to see that teams haven't, unfairly tarnished some of these players who chose for moral reasons or personal reasons to sit out the year. Um, we'll come back and we'll touch on some other stuff in the NFL in a little bit, but seeing as how I've already stolen Connor's job, I may as well take the next part and give you this game week's in the slot buster, game week number 18. Do always remember to get guesses in. Obviously, we're giving away a mini helmet of a team of your choice. If you do get a guess that's similar or exactly correct for a team of your choosing. This week's guess, again, the cryptic clue, it's my powerful laptop is owned by the Cowboys. Another short one from Connor. So, my powerful laptop is owned by the Cowboys. A confused face already, Chris. It's nice to be sat in this seat and just to look at you. I don't know the answer. I'll probably be guessing again. I hope Connor's back on next week. It'd be nice to get some guesses in from the fans, though. So let's talk about, I had one other subject before we kind of delve into the biggest topic of discussion for this week. But that is the pro days. A lot of these college prospects have been taking part in their pro days. We'll keep an eye on it. The challenge is when you have a combine, it's a centrally run event. Everyone trusts those numbers. A pro day, people always take those numbers with a pinch of salt. But we saw two really good performances in this week just gone. Kyle Pitts ran a 4.46 40-yard dash. That's wide receiver speed for the man Henry already classed as the top pass catcher in this draft. So, yeah, he's just done more and more to solidify his stock. And another workout warrior was Rondale Moore, posted a 4.29 40-yard dash. And for a guy who I believe is 5'7", posted a 42.5-inch vertical, which is just crazy high. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that guy has just shown off his raw athleticism. So, yeah, expect those draft stocks to be rising. We'll continue to monitor those and keep you guys up to date. But, yeah, let's talk into it. Most controversial topic in the NFL, probably in recent memory, really. Deshaun Watson. He's had 16 separate lawsuits filed against him, all for various forms of sexual harassment, to every nth degree. And, all of the claims themselves have been for a minimal monetary value. All have been supported by one lawyer who is supposedly a good owner of the Texans organization. A good friend of the owner of the Texans organization. Obviously, the biggest impact is how that affects his trade stock. We talked about it, Chris, several times, but we thought Deshaun Watson, there was no chance he was going to be playing in Houston. But now, does any team trade for him? Can any team trade for him?
It's such a difficult area, and it really needs more light to be shed on the accusations. And anything like this must be taken especially seriously. So I think there's definitely more information that needs to come out, and it'll come out in due course, I hope. Regarding the trade, it's really difficult because if you pay up players and picks to make that trade for Deshaun Watson, and then something happens, and then prosecution or something has to sit out, or for whatever reason he can't play, you've lost your players, your picks, and your money basically. Any team that is potentially looking to get Deshaun Watson, I think they have to wait and see with this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you made a good point. From a football sense, it doesn't make any sense at all unless his value's suddenly dropped. But organizations obviously and rightfully so care about public perception. And there's nothing worse which an organization can do than to take someone with these with these claims looming over them. I mean, you just look at draft classes. We had, I believe it was Laken Tomlinson who didn't get drafted. Lael Collins, sorry, offensive tackle who ended up going to the Cowboys, who was seen as a first-round draft pick, had allegations against him and didn't get drafted as a result. That's what happens to talent when it's got this over it, and rightfully so. That's the way the world works. That's the way it should work. This is pure speculation. Okay, I'm just going to weigh in with no immediate knowledge of the situation, but just to pose a potential scenario for you.
I think this is the question I'm thinking of asking you, but go ahead.
Go on. Yeah. Well, hopefully then it's not just me, but I mean, obviously everyone's considering the murky circumstances under which this has happened. The lawyer and his personal relationship with the owner of the Texans, sorry. I don't think or mean to say in any way I don't view these allegations as true, because what my opinion is probably these allegations are true. Probably, there's no smoke without fire. I doubt 16 separate individuals would put their reputation on the line just for a bit of fame, for infamy, you know. But the only thing I can think is maybe this happened previously in the past. Maybe the organization swept it under the carpet, paid these people off, and now they're not happy with Deshaun Watson. They're happy to let it bubble up and surface again. Now it's no longer in their interest to keep them quiet. And you know what that raises for me is a two-part question. How many individuals within the NFL have something similar that we don't know about? And equally, what does that say about the organization of the Houston Texans? You know, we've already been questioning their organization as a whole anyway. If my pure allegation, which has no, factual background, but if there's any truth to that at all, what does that say about the Texans? They're happy to sit on it when it supports their team, but as soon as it doesn't, they just release these things. I don't know. What were your thoughts, Chris?
Well, that was kind of the similar sort of devil's advocate question I was going to pose to you. Do you think that somebody higher up in the organization has prompted these to come forward, or again, similar to you, I don't have any inside information, and obviously these will need further investigation. But it does seem quite murky for all of a sudden 1, 2, 3, 7, 16 sounds a lot. But if it is, it's appalling behaviour from the player in question, and secondly, as you said, from the organisation. It wouldn't surprise me, sadly, if there was a lot of this going on in most professional sports.
Yeah, or just with celebrities as a whole, I imagine.
Yeah. So it's not just sports. I think you're right there. We all saw about the Me Too things in the film industry. So it wouldn't surprise me if something similar was in another profession. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Disappointing times, and we look forward to finding out a bit more, understanding what happened there. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Chris.
I was just going to say back to the NFL in terms of the impact this has on the team. I really think that this is going to make Deshaun Watson just sit out the whole year.
Yeah.
We know he's not happy. We know he wanted out. The coaching team didn't want to trade him. This has come up. It looks like an out for him. One, not to play, and two, not to be traded. I think he will sit out the whole year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it just looks like the real loser is Deshaun Watson playing football. Maybe that's the right loser. Who knows? Who are we to say? But yeah, hopefully we find out a bit more, and yeah, hopefully our fears and our concerns aren't true, and we find out some positive news. But speaking of positive news, let's bring it back. All right, this is something we had no idea about, but something we do know about. We're going to do our first truly interactive mock draft. All four of us, so obviously that's me, Josh, Henry, Connor, and Chris, we're all going to take charge and take control of 8 NFL teams. So split the league, divide it by 4. Each of us control 8 teams within the draft and whatever picks they hold. And we'll have a draft royale. So that will include trades. We can, trade with different organizations, make our picks based on what we would do as that team. There were certain caveats. So we've already assigned which teams go to which of the 4 of us. But we had to try and make this as balanced and fair as it could be. So out of the 4 of us, we all needed to have the same number of picks, 8 picks each. We needed to have 1 team per division each, and per conference. So, each of the 4 teams within a conference of a division of a conference, sorry, we would each have 1 of those. We would all have our own team and control of our own team. Fortunately, we all support 4 separate teams, so that was easily done. And then the final pick, and then the final sort of aspect of that, and the most important one, was we needed to have relative trade value and relative draft pick value. So through a calculation by myself, I can announce all the separate teams, so the 8 teams we each have. So for me, I've got the Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, Jacksonville Jaguars, Kansas City Chiefs, New York Giants, Detroit Lions, Carolina Panthers, and my own Seattle Seahawks. That comes to a total value of 124. Just to put it into perspective, Chris has got the Dolphins, the Steelers, obviously his own team, the Texans, the Raiders, the Eagles, the Bears, the Buccaneers, and the 49ers. coming to exactly 132 in value, which is exactly divided by 4. So Chris got the most evenly split. Connor has got the Patriots, the Bengals, the Colts, the Chargers, the Cowboys, his own team, Vikings, the Saints, and the Cardinals, 142 total. And then finally, Henry has got the Jets, the Browns, the Titans, the Broncos, Washington football team, his own Green Bay Packers, the Falcons, and the Rams, totaling 130. So what you may not have noticed is out of the 4 of us, 3 of us have a team which has 2 picks, and 3 of us have a team which has 0 picks. So, Henry, for example, has the Rams, who have 0 picks, but he also has. I shouldn't have led myself down that line. He also has the Jets, who have 2 picks. So it just means we all have the same number of picks. We're going to have, what we're going to do is an expanded episode. It will be this weekend. We're going to spend probably, I imagine, an hour and a half, 2 hours going through the whole thing. We'll do a condensed episode as well, where we literally just have the draft with the picks. But the main episode is going to be a full long slog. We're going to be clear about which players can be traded, which picks can be traded even, and we'll go around that way. So it should be fun. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of work, but hopefully you guys appreciate it. That's why this week's episode is on the shorter side, and obviously only me and Chris can make it. Chris, which team are you looking forward to the most drafting for?
Well, obviously Steelers, but I like where the Dolphins are. To be fair, I like the Bears. They've got a potential option to go either way there with a couple of interesting picks. And who else had a good? I think Connor's got a nice selection. Obviously, we know Patriots are in there. Bengals, obviously, they're in the top 5. Chargers in the top end. Vikings in the top end. So he's got some good ones. I'm interested.
Yeah, just watch out for some collusion with Connor. That's what we'll be monitoring. He's long stated that he wants his Cowboys to get Penei Sewell in the first round, and he seems to be in control of that chance with the Bengals picks as well.
It'll be Cowboys trade for Penei with the 5th pick and a 7th rounder or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. We will be making sure that no such decisions can be made. But yeah, no, it will be good. We'll try and do it as realistic as possible. Put ourselves in the headspace of those teams. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Hopefully you all are too. Well, obviously that ends the episode. We usually lead out on the In the Slot Buster. So just reminder, this week's cryptic clue and this week's In the Slot Buster is my powerful laptop is owned by the Cowboys. Yeah, do remember to comment if you believe you got the answer. Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.